The chicken mega factory process begins at large breeding farms where fertilized eggs are collected and transferred to fully automated hatcheries. In these hatcheries, temperature and humidity are strictly controlled until the eggs hatch after about 3 weeks. Newly hatched chicks are quickly sorted, vaccinated, and prepared for transport, while weaker chicks are often removed from the system. The healthy chicks are then transported in crowded crates to massive poultry sheds designed to hold tens of thousands of birds at once. Inside these sheds, everything is controlled artificially, including lighting, air circulation, and temperature to maximize growth. The chickens are kept in very crowded conditions, limiting their movement so they gain weight faster, and they are fed high-protein feed mixed with supplements to speed up growth. To prevent disease outbreaks in such crowded environments, antibiotics are commonly added to their water or feed, which has raised serious health and ethical concerns. Within just 5 to 7 weeks, the chickens grow much larger than they would naturally, and many suffer from leg problems, heart issues, or infections. Once they reach the desired weight, workers collect the birds and load them into cages for transportation to slaughterhouses. At the processing facility, the chickens are hung upside down on fast-moving conveyor belts, stunned using electricity or gas, and then slaughtered as their blood is drained. After this, machines remove feathers, internal organs are extracted, and the meat is cleaned using water and chemical treatments. Finally, the processed chicken is cut into parts or left whole, packaged in plastic, labeled, and distributed to supermarkets, restaurants, and fast food chains. The entire system is designed for speed, efficiency, and profit, often at the cost of animal welfare, meat quality, and potential risks to human health. Beyond the visible production line, the impact of chicken megafactories extends deeply into the environment, workers' lives, and surrounding communities. Massive amounts of waste produced by thousands of chickens are collected daily, releasing strong ammonia gases that pollute the air and can cause breathing problems for both animals and nearby residents. This waste often seeps into soil and water sources, contaminating rivers and groundwater with harmful bacteria and excess nutrients. Inside the factories, workers are required to operate at extreme speeds, handling live and dead birds for long hours in cold, wet, and stressful conditions, which can lead to injuries, infections, and long-term health problems. Many workers are poorly paid and receive minimal protection despite constant exposure to chemicals, blood, and waste. The heavy use of antibiotics in these factories also contributes to antibiotic resistance, making common infections harder to treat in humans. While megafactories see themselves as efficient solutions to meet global meat demand, critics argue that this system prioritizes profit over sustainability, public health, and ethical responsibility, creating hidden costs that consumers rarely see when buying packaged chicken from stores. As demand for cheap chicken continues to rise, megafactories keep expanding their scale and influence, pushing smaller local farmers out of business. Traditional poultry farming, which once allowed birds to grow naturally with more space and time, is slowly disappearing because it cannot compete with the low prices of industrial production. Consumers are rarely shown how their food is produced, and marketing often presents factory chicken as fresh, healthy, and farm-raised, hiding the reality of overcrowded sheds and rapid growth cycles. The speed at which chickens are raised leaves little room for proper immune development, increasing the risk of disease outbreaks that can spread rapidly across entire flocks. When such outbreaks occur, thousands of birds may be killed and disposed of in mass graves or incinerated, causing further environmental damage. This cycle of overproduction and mass disposal highlights how fragile and unsustainable the system truly is, relying heavily on constant control, medication, and high resource consumption rather than natural balance. At the consumer level, the consequences of this system are rarely questioned because factory chicken has become normalized as an everyday food item. Low prices and easy availability encourage overconsumption, while little attention is paid to nutritional quality or long-term health effects. Rapidly grown chickens often contain higher water content and lower natural muscle strength, which affects taste and texture, yet this is masked through processing, freezing, and seasoning. The long supply chain also increases the risk of contamination, as a single mistake in hygiene can affect thousands of birds and spread bacteria across large batches of meat. Despite regular inspections, lapses still occur, leading to recalls and public health warnings. This disconnect between production and consumption allows megafactories to operate with minimal public scrutiny, as long as shelves remain full and prices stay low, keeping the hidden reality of industrial chicken farming out of sight and out of mind. Over time, this industrial model also shapes public perception of food and farming in a way that distances people from nature and responsibility. Many consumers grow up believing that meat production is clean, simple, and endless, without understanding the resources required to sustain it. Huge amounts of water, grain, soy, and energy are consumed just to maintain fast growth and constant supply, placing pressure on global food systems and contributing to deforestation and climate change. Corn and soy grown for chicken feed often rely on heavy pesticide use, which damages ecosystems and reduces biodiversity. Meanwhile, the chickens themselves are treated as units of production rather than living beings, valued only for how quickly they gain weight. This mindset reinforces a cycle where efficiency is rewarded above all else, making meaningful reform difficult. As long as demand continues unchecked, megafactories will keep expanding, silently reshaping agriculture, the environment, and human health in ways that are rarely discussed but deeply interconnected. Looking ahead, experts warn that unless major changes are made, the risks associated with chicken megafactories will only intensify. Climate stress, rising temperatures, and increasing disease pressure make overcrowded farming systems even more vulnerable to collapse. A single virus mutation in such dense conditions can spread rapidly, forcing emergency culls and disrupting food supplies. Governments often struggle to regulate these massive operations effectively, as powerful corporations influence policies and prioritize economic output over strict welfare and safety standards. While some progress is being made through organic farming, better labeling, and consumer awareness, these alternatives remain out of reach for many due to higher costs. This creates a divide where ethical and healthier options become a privilege rather than a norm. Without transparency and accountability, the system continues to operate behind closed doors, leaving consumers unaware of the long-term consequences of relying on industrial chicken production as the backbone of global food security. At the same time, the psychological distance between consumers and the origins of their food continues to grow, making accountability even weaker. Chicken is increasingly sold in processed forms such as nuggets, patties, and ready-to-cook meals, removing any visual reminder that it once came from a living animal. This transformation allows megafactories to avoid moral scrutiny, as the product is seen purely as a commodity rather than the result of an intensive biological process. Advertising focuses on convenience, taste, and affordability, while ignoring questions about how animals are treated or how workers are affected. Schools, fast food chains, and large institutions rely heavily on cheap factory chicken, reinforcing dependence from an early age. Over time, this normalizes a system where speed and volume matter more than quality and care, locking society into a cycle that is difficult to challenge because it has been woven into daily habits, culture, and economic structures. As awareness slowly spreads through documentaries, social media, and independent reporting, megafactories face growing pressure from activists and informed consumers. Yet meaningful change remains slow and uneven. Some companies respond with surface-level reforms, using labels like better raised or farm fresh, without making significant improvements to living conditions or production speed. These marketing tactics create an illusion of responsibility while the core system stays largely unchanged. True reform would require reducing overcrowding, limiting antibiotic use, improving worker safety, and accepting slower growth cycles, all of which challenge the profit-driven structure of industrial farming. Until stronger regulations and genuine transparency are enforced, most improvements remain optional rather than mandatory. As a result, the burden of change often shifts unfairly onto consumers, who must research, question, and pay more to avoid supporting harmful practices, while the dominant industrial model continues to operate at full scale behind carefully managed public images.